Welcome back. It's time now to take a look at the top business stories. DP World to soon trade on both Nasdaq Dubai and LSE. KZAD looking at billions of dollars of foreign investments. And IMF and EU inspectors assess Greece reform progress. Let's look at the stock markets first. The DFM and ADX headed into the weekend in opposite directions. The DFM gained 0.5% to close at 1,534 points. Best performer was Dubai Insurance, which rallied 13.6%. EMA Properties was up 1.3%, Dubai Islamic Bank 1% and Tamwheel 4.3%. Stocks to lose were Taka Full House, which lost 9.9%, Du fell 0.9% and Ajman Bank dropped 0.6%. 108 million shares were traded, valued at 122 million dirhams. However, over in the capital, the ADX lost slightly by 0.1% to close at 2,598 points, with the energy sector falling the most. Taka lost 2.5%, however Dana Gas was unchanged. Main loser was Union Cement Company, which fell nearly 10%, as did Ras Al Khaimah Cement Company, which dropped 7.8%. The real estate sector was up today. Alder Properties gained 0.8% and Sur Real Estate climbed 1.6%. 72 million shares were traded, valued at 98 million dirhams. And let's now look at the GCC markets, which ended mixed today. Will it be a European or someone from an emerging market economy to be elected managing director of the IMF in June? Christine Lagarde yesterday officially declared her candidacy. But the battle for more influence on the nomination is beginning to build up among the emerging market economies, mainly among the BRICS. To talk a bit more about this issue, we're now joined by financial analyst Bruce Powers. Welcome to the show, Bruce.
Thank you.
I want to know, do you think that the leading European countries will even consider handing away power that the IMF holds?
Well, given that the previous 10 heads have all been from Europe over the 65-year history of the IMF and the current European debt crisis, I think it's pretty unlikely they're going to fight to try to have their own candidate. Now, Lagarde is currently the leading candidate, and European countries are rushing to back her. The U.S. has not backed her yet, but it looks like they probably will. The European countries have about 1/3 of the voting power, but they don't always vote together, while the U.S. has the greatest influence with 17% of the vote. So we could see other emerging candidates over the next few days, but so far developing countries have been unable to agree on who that might be.
How will the policy of the IMF maybe change with someone from Europe leading the fund or with someone leading the fund from an emerging market economy? Do you think, in case an emerging market expert would head the IMF, that the policy becomes more favorable of emerging markets, you think?
Well, I think that if we look at both of the candidates, we shouldn't expect any big changes in regard to the Eurozone debt crisis. Lagarde is the finance minister of France. She was previously a lawyer. She would be the first head of the IMF who is not an economist and the first woman. So she could bring a different perspective to the organization overall, given her background. Carstens, on the other hand, worked for the IMF as a deputy managing director from 2003 to 2006, so he's intimately familiar with the inner workings of the organization. So he's part of the IMF, we could say, his thinking and his background. But I think, given that he comes from an emerging market, certainly he would be more sympathetic to the concerns of emerging economies.
One thing's for sure, this election stays very, very interesting.
Yes, it's going to be more interesting probably in the coming days.
Okay, let's see what happens. Thanks for coming in. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
And now to our top stories. DP World will trade on the London Stock Exchange for the first time on the 1st of June, the company said. The ports operator yesterday said it received formal approval from the UK Listings Authority for a dual listing on the LSE. The company, which is currently only tradable on Nasdaq Dubai, aims to track a wider range of investors who will be able to trade the stock across both exchanges and by that boost liquidity. DP World shares were among the most traded on the Nasdaq Dubai last year, with the company's share price rising 47%. Abu Dhabi Ports Company is eyeing billions of dollars worth of foreign investments for its Khalifa industrial zone in its pursuit to diversify further away from oil. ADPC is expecting the bulk of investors to come from emerging markets such as China and South Korea, as well as from the US and Germany. One of the main partners, however, is India. ADPC is eyeing between 45 and 50 billion worth of investments from Indian companies by 2015, a senior company official told reporters. It is the ADPC's mission to bring in $40 billion, or 15% of Abu Dhabi's non-oil GDP, once the Khalifa industrial zone is fully operational. ADPC has a number of sectors and clusters to attract companies in specific areas, a company's spokesperson said, such as aluminum, petrochemicals, engineered metals, paper and packaging, as well as food. And in our fast financial news, Noor Islamic Bank posted a net profit of 58 million dirhams so far this year, according to press reports, citing an interview with the bank's CEO. Operating income reached 113 million dirhams and the capital adequacy ratio is 18%. Noor Islamic Bank expects its balance sheet to grow by 25% by the end of the year. Abu Dhabi-listed company Finance House won approval from the Emirates Securities and Commodities Authority to offer 20% of its shares to foreign investors. Previously, only nationals were allowed to trade the shares. Officials say the move will help the company extend its reach both regionally and internationally. The UAE's popularity among travelers has boosted the occupancy rates of the Emirates hotels, according to a report. In April, hoteliers in Dubai saw revenues per available room increase by 13.3%, and in Abu Dhabi, the hotel occupancy rate rose 15.7%. And after the break, we will run you through what's making the headlines in international business today.